Third hour of the Elias Macco Show continuing here, and we're very excited about how we start off this third hour. In our studios this morning, it's Charles Milliard, the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. It's our pleasure to welcome Monsieur Milliard in the studio. Monsieur Milliard, welcome to our show.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation.
And for me, congratulations, of course, on
Thank
becoming
you.
the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party.
Thank you.
Okay, so lots to talk
Only
about
the
here.
17th. You know, there hasn't been that many leaders in the 160 years of history of the party. So,
So based on that, do you sense a bit of responsibility, knowing there's been so few people in that position?
Of course, and I hope I'm going to be there for many years because it's time to bring back stability and stability to the party.
Tell me about that sense of responsibility. Why do you feel there's a sense of responsibility in the position
Well,
you're
it's the oldest political party in the history of Quebec, and it was founded with the foundation of Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, the party has been at the helm of so many reforms and so many part of the history of Quebec in a way. So very humbly, I hope I'm going to be part of that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so proud.
Lots of ups and downs in that history.
Yep.
How would you describe where the party is at now? At an up, at a down? How would you describe it?
It's on the way back up again. Thank God, I would say, because honestly, the past few weeks, few months have been tough. I'm very lucid about it. There's a lot of work to do. We have interesting polls coming in, as we will probably talk about. But there's a lot of work to do, and an election is won on the ground. Is won by meeting people, by coming to your shows, and looking Quebecers in the eyes.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the ups here. You mentioned the polls. I want to bring it up as well because there's different facets to this poll.
Yes.
Second place for the Liberals, 27%. I mean, it's like, you're so close to being at 30%.
Yes.
Against a party, the PQ, that everyone thought it was a fait accompli that they would win the next election. Doesn't seem to be the case. But how do you get those few extra points? What's the challenge there from this point for you?
Well, I'll be honest, it is really motivating both for myself and the team, and it's going to help us recruit new people that might be thinking about joining the Liberal team for the upcoming election. That being said, it's 27%, so it's not 40%. So there's a lot of work to do, and as you know, the way that 27% is spread throughout Quebec is key, and it isn't spread equally right now.
Okay, let's talk about it then, because what you're referencing there is francophones, right?
Yes.
Les régions.
Yes.
And the need for the Liberal Party to gain some credibility among that nationalist vote. I don't know if you want to call it soft nationalist, but those who are like, hey, Quebec is my place.
Yep.
How do you do that? How are you going to do that?
Well, I come from that community that we want them to feel welcome again to the party, and it was the case with Mr. Charest, with Mr. Bourassa. So I'm not hoping for something that has never happened. But honestly, in the past few years, it hasn't been the case. So that's why we need to be on the ground talking about priority issues for Francophone, for all Quebecers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be doing.
Do you feel your party is at the right spot intersection-wise when it comes to some of the big nationalist projects? And in my top of mind, it's language and it's secularism. I don't think the Liberal Party, this is my opinion, I don't think the Liberal Party can go 0 for 2 amongst Quebec French nationalists and have a hope. You got to hit at least one, hopefully 1.5.
So you're right, and we need to be clear about those issues. And we need to, in French, we say détricoter. So there's a lot of perception to change about those laws, because honestly, obviously, I am for the protection of French. I am for a secular society. But I think that if we want to amend some parts of those regulations, doesn't mean that I am against those two important issues.
So I guess I want to get...
and that's what the CAQ, if I may say, has succeeded in making Quebecers believe that if you don't agree 100% with those regulations, you are against the objectives of those regulations, which is a total lie.
So I guess what I'd like to hear is, maybe it's too early for that, by the way. We still have plenty of time. You're new in the position. Is if you're going to amend these laws, how they would be amended. What I've heard from you in other interviews is on Bill 21, where you're going to let the notwithstanding clause expire, which to me is just like we're going to get rid of Bill 21 if that's the take.
It's the official position of the party that I make mine if you want. It's going to happen in 2029. But you know what? We live in a state of law. We're going to have a ruling from the Supreme Court in, I think, the coming months, which will be interesting given the fact that it's an election year. And I think that's fair. But that being said, I have been clear in many interviews in the past few weeks. To me, the consensus that we have with the Bouchard-Taylor Commission was more acceptable, was a kind of a compromise that was more acceptable, socially speaking. But that being said, I'm not going to change that as a priority for now, but we're not going to renew it. And we'll see what happens between 26 and 29. So I know this is not popular in each and every segment of the population. But I think that if you want to lead Quebec, you need to be clear about my personal view. And this is my personal view.
And that's what I think. I think for a lot of voters in the past, they've become confused with where the Liberal Party stands on these issues. We would look for a sort of definitive position on some of these subjects. Okay.
It's impossible to please everyone with these issues. It's just impossible.
And opinions change. I'll tell you from my mindset as a host here on CJAD, 2 years ago, people were much more against Bill 21 than they are today. Opinions have changed, even in an Anglo audience, right? So, I mean, I'm sure that's interesting to navigate.
Time helps sometimes.
I want to ask you about referendum for a second, which I know you must love talking about this because Quebecers don't want it and neither do you.
I don't like it, but we need to.
But this week you said something interesting. You were asked about referendum and sovereignty, and you said you're ready to lead the no side. There are two ways of looking at it. And a lot of people took it like, hey, he's ready to lose the next election, and then he'll lead the no side. You're new at politics. Let's be honest there. So let's go back to that answer.
Yep.
When you said I'm ready to lead the no side, was that really what you were thinking?
Well, I think that the sentence is I'm ready to lead the no side, comma, should there be a win by the PQ. And I'm just being honest and factual. The Parti Québécois is leading in the polls right now. So I'm just assuming that we need to consider both options. Hopefully, there won't be any referendum. There won't be any no bus. There won't be any no side and no comité du non if you want. But that being said, I think it's just being honest that should Quebecers decide we go towards a referendum, we're going to need leaders. And honestly, from looking at what Mrs. Fréchette, Mr. Drainville, Mr. Duhem has been saying, they're not ready to answer what is probably the most important question when it comes to Quebec politics. So it worries me. So I'm just being clear that I'm the only leader that has the capacity to represent both Quebec and Canada in a referendum that I'm not hoping will happen.
That is an interesting way of putting it, and I think factually you're probably correct on of all the parties in Quebec. If someone has to lead the no side, it would fall upon the Quebec Liberal Party in that situation.
And it's for Quebecers to choose, so we're going to need Quebecers to be involved in that. And I don't see that as being pretentious. It's just factual.
Okay, so let's just go to some interesting polling nuggets on the referendum side of things. And I wonder your take on why so many parties are sticking to separation and independence and referendum talk, even when the polls show they don't want it, right? And we could talk about the PQ, but I should point out Quebec Solidaire. Their vote, the people that say they'll vote Quebec Solidaire, it's 15%, 15% are in favor of separation.
I know.
It's the official party position. They want separation.
That's interesting, Quebec Solidaire. I feel like some members or some voters for Quebec Solidaire have forgotten that it's part of their DNA to be for the separation of Quebec. I've said many times over the past few weeks that I think the position of the Parti Québécois is clear, and I respect that because it's clear. What is unclear is the position of the CAQ when it comes to the future of Quebec inside Canada, and recently the Parti conservateur du Québec as well, Mr. Duhem, Mr. Drainville, Mrs. Fréchette, they have all worked for the Parti Québécois. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just basic facts. So they just need to assume that situation and make sure that Quebecers know what they stand for in 2026.
Does that ambiguity help them with that nationalist vote that you also want? So I wonder how you thread that needle where you're not ambiguous on the question, but you can attract that voter who loves that type of talk.
Well, last time I checked, close to 40% of people that are that intend to vote for the Conservative Party of Quebec are considering voting probably for us. So I think if we come to a situation where there can be a referendum if the Parti Québécois wins, we need the Parti Libéral du Québec to become what it has always been in the past, which is an umbrella party. So I want people that voted federal Liberal, that voted Conservative, that voted, NDP as well. So people that actually believe in a strong Canada to regroup behind us.
To wrap us up here, again, on polling subjects, Eric Duhamel is Conservatives. You've brought him up a couple of times here.
Yes.
I think with good reason, because they're now polling second amongst non-Francophones. There is a segment of our listeners that feel like they're getting courted, and he's been on this show, and he's courting our audience actively. So what's your response to the Anglo that has become a little bit disaffected with the Liberal Party?
Well, first, it's a proof that most of the people of the community are not interested in the CAQ. I think the CAQ is game over when it comes to that section of Quebecers. So they're looking for a position. They've been hearing Mr. Duhem for many years, so probably he's a little bit in advance of me when it comes to his proposition being clear.
Yeah.
So that's the work that I have to do in the coming weeks. That's why I'm going to be meeting with leaders from the community. I'm going to be attending a lot of events. I'm going to accept probably all your invitations, and people will get to know me, but they will also get to know my team. So I can't wait to present my team of, actual Liberals, but also new Liberals that will be joining us. And this will start tomorrow with my own convention in Orford. So I will be the first official candidate, but I'll be coming and see you and do some other great announcements in the coming weeks.
Glad to hear that. Now, for the CAQ side, they're going through a leadership race as well, Drainville and Frechette.
I saw that.
Right? And what's interesting is so many of their positions, the leadership candidates' positions, go against current party positions, right? Which is which is fascinating, right?
It is fascinating. That's a nice way to say it. I think, you know what, it's a race, but it seems to be a race to go as far as possible from their bilan, from what they did in the past 7 years. But I think Quebecers are done with the CAQ, to be honest.
But on that front, when does the Quebec Liberal Party and the Quebec Liberal Party's positions, because you referenced, you've inherited this party.
Yep. When
will we start to see policy positions that are in your image as leader?
Well, I started 2 weeks ago in Trois-Rivières with the inaugural speech, if I may say, to present my 5 priorities, which will be about regaining the title of the party of the economy in Quebec, talking about our need for a public platform of telemedicine. I also want to invite Quebecers to a general assembly, general estates of education. My ambition is to build 100,000 housing units per year. We're at an average of 60,000 right now, so it's pretty ambitious. And I also want to talk about culture, about our artists from both languages. The way we can promote our culture is not only with M&As, but with artists and with promoting what they do.
I tell you, it's frustrating when you see TV shows from South Korea and Germany and all over the place become hits. Let's start to tell our stories. I'm a big fan of that idea.
You're so right.
Well. Charles Milliard is leader of the Quebec Liberal Party. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.